On the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, I'm Darren. Welcome to 8th Day Chronicles here at Cross Timbers Farm. Glad to have you with us today. Boy, is it a busy time of year here on the farm. You can see I've been doing some just routine checking maintenance stuff on our workhorse, the Honda Foreman ES 4-wheel drive ATV, or as we just call it, a 4-wheeler. And our Agri-Fab pull behind rough cut mower. We use this like a brush hog or a bush hog. It is a rough cut mower. It's got a stump jumper under it and all that type of stuff. Very heavy duty built. They don't make these anymore. This thing's probably at least 15 to 20 years old, somewhere in that area. To my knowledge, Agri-Fab does not build these anymore. I've looked at a lot of the other brands of pull behind bush hogs that's got their own motor, self-contained. You can pull behind an ATV or a UTV, and I've yet to find one built as heavy duty for a pull behind model as this one. Maybe they're out there. That's very much a possibility. There is just as good a one, but I've not found anything better, heavier duty built. This thing's fantastic. We've used it for 10 plus years, probably 12 years on this farm. Has ran like a top. We've replaced the drive belt once. That's it. When we bought this thing, it did have a pull start. Me and my dad, before he passed away, and I miss my dad every day, me and my dad converted this 12.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine over to an electric start. We put an alternator on it and wired it with a starter. Even though he wasn't just into small engines, you give my dad about an hour to look at something and come up with a plan, and he was a genius when it came to rigging up stuff like this, converting something. What people up north call a bushcraft fix. But it wasn't just cobbled together. He done a good job on it. Him and I got together and we converted this thing to electric start. So nice just to push a button instead of pull on it and pull on it. So I've greased the wheel bearings today. I've checked the oil levels. I've checked the fuel filter, checked the belts. First time we've used it this year. We cut our test plot about a week ago, baled it. And the rest of our hay fields, we have some fields, I shouldn't call them hay fields. The rest of our pastures are so steep we can't cut hay on them. Areas that we cannot cut hay because of the degree of slope. So We no longer have livestock on our farm, so we have to maintain these areas. We don't have livestock out there keeping it grazed down. So we maintain them by 3 times a year, 4 times a year at the most usually, bush hogging them to keep them in good shape. And we don't do soil amendments on those other areas. We just don't. Cost effective for growing hay. It makes no sense to do soil amendments over there where it's so steep we can't cut hay for no benefit. So it's in a natural state. We don't do any soil amendments over there, but we do just keep it maintained from getting overgrown. We keep it grown because you never know what might happen. There might be livestock back on this farm in some point in the future. We want to keep our fences and our pastures in good shape and not just let them, the old saying, go to pot. We're keeping them up. They got good grass in them, so we're keeping it mowed and keeping everything looking good. So this is too steep to mow with our 5-foot bush hog and our tractor. So instead we use the ATV and this pull behind, and I can get this thing on some dadgum steep ground. That ATV has really good tires on it. It's 4-wheel drive. This bush hog sits right on the ground, really low to the ground, and the hitch on it will rotate as you go over humps and stuff. Of course you can push the limits of anything, but this thing is really good on side hill and on hills. So that's what we use. You'd be in a rollover situation in just a matter of minutes on a tractor on some of these steep slopes. So we use or at least I would. So we use the ATV and the pull behind rough cut Agri-Fab bush hog. So let's get at it. It's supposed to rain this evening. We got big plans for our test plot. Stick with us. I made about 2 rounds with a bush hog, and I got to smelling fuel. Folks, anytime you're using farm equipment or equipment like this, and it's sit all winter, you can go through it, you know, change oil, filters, all that stuff. The first time you run it after it's sit through a winter, just keep an eye on your equipment, because things can happen that's deteriorated or something like that over winter, belts break, whatever, that you really don't know till you run it. I made about two laps around this steep part of this field and got to smelling fuel. So I stopped and got off the ATV down there, and I could see a very small stream of fuel, a stream of it, just like a very small stream, under pressure, spitting out and landing on the deck of the mower. So I cut everything off really fast. Spilled fuel with a hot engine is a recipe for disaster. Always around your barn somewhere have a fire extinguisher handy. Thank God I didn't need it today. Thank you, Lord. Seen the leak before it really started leaking bad. It was not leaking when I started it. After I made about 2 rounds, I had a pinhole that started spewing fuel. So I had to shut everything off, go to the shop, get a piece of fuel line, get the old off, put a new piece of fuel line on. You can see the new piece of fuel line. And there's the cutoff valve and the fuel line going up to the tank. it was leaking about right here, just right past the outlet of the fuel filter. And you can see right there a spot where fuel was spewing to. I ran it just a little bit, we're good. Let's get back to mowing this steep pasture. Bush hog does a good job. And this field is, this camera don't do it justice. It is a lot steeper than you think. Or what the camera's showing, I should say. We're done mowing or bush hogging for the day. We mowed some sections along our fence on the outer side of the fence just to keep the fence rows from growing up. And we done the south side of our pasture next to the test plot. It's done. We will bush hog the rest of these areas after we do first cut back here on the hay. which is coming up really, really soon. We're just waiting on the weather. The leaf to stem ratio is getting really good back here. The growth is not as good as I would have liked because of the washing away of our soil nutrients from the hurricane. But it is going to make good hay, what's there. And the leaf to stem ratio is coming along. It's getting close. So we're looking now at windows of weather to cut. And I may divide this main field up into 2 sections. Cut one, skip maybe a day, maybe 2 days, and then cut the rest, so I'm not in a hurry. The only thing doing that is catching about an 8-day window, because you got to extend that drying period by a couple of days if you're going to do it staggered. But the Agri-Fab bush hogs blew off. It's ready to go back under the shed for the day. I can't brag on that thing enough. Goodness, that's a good little machine. If you have a small farm, if you're bush hogging hundreds of acres, this is not going to cut it. However, I do have a bigger bush hog to put behind my tractor, but our pasture, some of them is so steep, I can't get a bush hog and a tractor on them. It would just be super, super dangerous. So that is an excellent solution. That thing will hug the ground. You may have saw on some of those hillsides, it'll just stick like a spider on the side of those hills, with caution. Driving slow and all that type of stuff. Our ATV pulls it great. That ATV is a Honda Foreman 500. So it's a 500cc. Any smaller ATV and I would not want to pull that. That's probably the limit of how small you could go, is a 500cc 4-wheel drive on these steep hills. So let's, we got it blowed off and cleaned up and the fuel line fixed. So let's get it stored up, and we got more things going on. As you can see, we have our spreader hooked up. That is a Cosmo pull-behind model spreader with a Southern 180 hopper on it. Really like this spreader. It's a broadcast spreader, and a pull-behind model fits our situation much better than a 3-point mounted on our tractor. I can load this hopper and I can zoom around these fields on our ATV so much faster than I can with the tractor. And when I say faster, I'm talking about, you know, making the turns when I'm empty, getting back to the barn, reloading the hopper, back out. It's just efficient. And plus on some of our slopes, I can just go a little faster than I could with the tractor, because this thing is a lot lower center of gravity, and the hopper's on wheels and it's got a lower center of gravity. Yeah, you could lower your 3-point down, but you know, then you're fooling with a PTO shaft and all that stuff. This is just quick and easy, and really, really like this broadcast spreader. I do like the poly hopper on it, keeps it from rusting. If you use a broadcast spreader, just make sure you clean these things out real good and oil them when you're done, because fertilizer is super corrosive. If you leave fertilizer build up on your spreader, man, it ain't gonna take no time. You go back, you park it, and you go back a couple months later and look at it, and there'll be rust forming on it, surface rust starting. It's just, make sure you clean it good. All right, we're here in our test plot, and we're gonna do something a little different in our test plot. You may have saw when we were unloading fertilizer 2 days ago, we finished our first cut on the test plot. We still got to do our first cut on the main hay field and the west field, probably in a week or two. We're just waiting on weather right now. We're about ready. The field's about ready, the grasses, but we're just having to wait on the weather. My plan this year was not to fertilize. We had done so much to our soils in all of our fields. We had done so many amendments and kept up with soil test after soil test after soil test for a couple years, well, several years, and got a good grasp on what our soil needs, and we've done all that. I was really hoping this year, we had already invested so much in our soil that it was going to produce good this year without having to fertilize. Then came Hurricane Helene. Hurricane Helene hit here, and it was devastating. If you saw any news at all, and by the way, things were a lot worse around here than the news showed. We had right at 30 inches of rain. The term biblical proportions was used in some circles I heard talk of and things of that nature. But we had 30 inches, right at 30 inches of rain. That much rain pushing and running off those fields, it finally dawned on me why our hay growth back there has been so lagging and less than desirable. Hurricane Helene and all that water rushing off our fields washed away our nutrients and micronutrients in that topsoil. I'm convinced of it. Not all, I don't think it washed it all away, but all the rich nutrients we had put into that soil and done, gone with Hurricane Helene. There was so much water on these ridge tops that was running off down through our hay fields, streams running through our hay fields, that it washed away, I would feel safe to say, 90% of our nutrients and micronutrients in our topsoil. So, what are we going to do? We're going to have to put soil amendments, potassium, phosphorus, fertilizer, in other words, nitrogen, back into our soil. And even though I had not planned on fertilizing this year, we are going to experiment with our test plot. That's what a test plot's for. We can do things to this test plot and try different things without it costing a lot of money out of our farm budget. If you spend so much money, it's small acreage, 3/10 of an acre, 2 3/4 tenths of an acre. If you do some things and the results were really not that good versus the expense of putting it in, then you've not spent a whole lot of money, and you can just say, well, that didn't work that good, we're not going to do that anywhere else this year. Or if it works really good, then you know, hey, let's do that to the rest of our hay fields, even though it's going to cost some money, because that produced results, good results. So that's what the test plot's for. We're going to try something different this year with a test plot. We are going to apply triple 19 to the test plot, not as much, because I don't feel like we lost as much nutrients up here as we did in the main hay field. However, we're going to mix our fertilizer in the hopper when we put it in with urea. 4600 urea with Fix, F-I-X-X. To apply urea, you have to have rain. If you're applying granular urea, everything I've read and studied on urea over the last long while, couple years, urea is, when you broadcast spread it, dry, out on the ground. If you don't get rain on that to soak it into the ground, pretty quickly you can lose up to 50% that will dissipate before it ever gets into your soil. The studies I've read says up to 50% loss if it's not applied when rain is imminent. So to use urea, the urea we have, the nitrogen, it's ProAg 4600, 46% nitrogen, and it has Fix on it, F-I-X-X. it's a preservative like, and it's coated those granulars to keep loss from happening. So you can spread it dry out of a broadcast spreader, and if some reason the forecast, it doesn't rain in the next day or two, it helps coat that from dissipating so fast so you don't lose much. And from what I've read, the coating works pretty good to preserve it till it does get wet and work into the ground. So we've been watching the weather forecast on our phone really close, waiting for rain to be imminent and to apply it. And we're going to mix it in with our 1919 for this test plot. The forecast for tonight says 90% chance of rain tonight, around midnight. So we've got everything hooked up. We're just going to be waiting. We don't even want to take this urea out of the bags and mix it in the hopper until we're ready to spread it. And about an hour before dark, I'm going to have everything ready to go, and because the rain's supposed to come around midnight. They're saying a line of storms, and we could get up to a ½ an inch of rain tonight. Perfect. So we're gonna mix in this urea with our 1919 and put it on our test plot and see what happens. And by the way, the test plot's looking really good. Tomorrow will be 1 week that we baled it. And we cut it 4 days before that. So the cutting has actually been about a week, a little over a week and a half, but the baling a week. And goodness gracious, is it looking good. It is taken back off to growing, and it looks fantastic. The cut quality of our drum mower, done excellent. I looked at it really closely after we were done baling the next day, and it all looks great. I'll spin the camera around here in a minute and let you take a look at it, but stay with us. We're going to be spreading fertilizer and urea on our test plot here. We're not going to spread fertilizer on our main hay field and the west field until we cut it. Once first cut is baled and up off those fields, the next week or the first time we get rain is in the forecast, it's pretty sure that it's coming, we'll get the fertilizer put on it. I think spreading your fertilizer in arid conditions where there's no rain in the forecast, it might do some good, but it's not going to do near as good if you can have some soaking rain on it. So we wait for rain. Ain't it funny how farmers, especially hay farmers, you either, oh, we need some rain bad, your hay needs to grow, we need rain. Then when it's time to cut, please don't let it rain. We're never satisfied. £200 in the hopper for our test plot of a mixture, equal mixture of 1919 and urea, treated urea. Forecast says 90% chance of rain tonight, up to ½ an inch. They're calling for about 1/4 of an inch, but said give or take could be a little more in areas if you look at different forecasts. So looks good. We're going to spread this in anticipation of rain tonight to put this urea into the ground along with our fertilizer. We're done. We put a mixture of triple 19 fertilizer and urea with the coating on our test plot. Super happy with the way that broadcast spreader worked. We stirred that mixture up really good in our hopper, and we put the appropriate amount down per, if you figure it, per the acre, because this is only about 0.275 of an acre. So if you figure that up into acreage per 100 pounds, what's recommended, and if you're using urea or nitrogen with a coating on it, they recommend between 150 and 200 pounds per acre. So we broke that down and mixed it with our fertilizer with Hurricane Helene. The test plot didn't suffer as bad, near as bad as the rest of our hayfields in that flood, in that hurricane event. So we put down fertilizer and urea here. We'll see how it works. I believe it's going to work really good. We've got urea to put. We got enough to put on our west field. We don't have enough of it, but we only bought so much just to do a test. And but we do have enough fertilizer for all of our hay fields, so we're not going to be doing that till after first cut on those fields. So coverage was excellent. That little spreader, I set it on the 4th opening or notch that you can set it from the bottom, 4 up. On number 4, I've experimented with 3 and 3.5, 4, 4.5. You know, you can go in halves. And setting number 4 for the rate of application that we need, plus the ground speed of our ATV, works out perfect. So, and I walked around a minute ago and looked at it, and we got really good coverage. Really happy with it. Always experimenting in the test plot. That's what it's for. It'll be real interesting to see how well this does versus the main hayfield. Once we get the main hayfield, we have the same number or pounds per acre of fertilizer on it after first cut, and see how it does compared to this, with this having urea added to it. And the west field too, we're going to add urea to the west field. So test plot and west field. The main hayfield in the middle is not going to have urea. It's only going to have triple 19, so we'll see what happens. Thanks for being with us today. We got a lot done. A lot of bush hogging, a lot of mowing, maintaining fence lines, spreading urea and fertilizer. Man, it's a busy time of year. And I got to make some time to go fishing too. And thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it. What a beautiful day. This is the day the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Hey, our nutrients may have washed off that field. It's all good. You know what? God makes a way. When something like that happens, a natural event, hurricane, storms, it done some damage to our hay farm. But you know what? God gave us the resources and the means to be able to buy fertilizer to replenish these nutrients and do things to our soil. God's good. He's really good. That was the nutrients washing off of our hay fields was not a disaster. That was a learning experience for us. Thank you for being with us. I really appreciate it. And I pray God blesses you and your family. And I pray y'all have a fantastic day.